Good morning, everyone. Just a huge thank you for everyone joining us this morning. It's 11 o'clock. We're going to kick off. It's Right Revenue's ethos as a company, as most of you know, to empower revenue managers, and part of that means fantastic knowledge sharing. And today we have one of the best digital experts in our industry, Caroline Dunlea. Caroline has a long career in hospitality and started Core Optimisation around 4 years ago. Today, Caroline will give you some great insights into the digital world and the important role this plays in ensuring we all win the war of book direct. I'm going to ask you if any of you have questions, just to drop us a little note during it. But Caroline, over to you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much, Adrienne. Lovely to be able to chat on such a topical subject. So a little bit, Adrienne, thanks for the lovely introduction. A little bit about Core Optimisation and who we are. We have been working in the hospitality industry, helping our clients grow revenue for quite some time. And Core as an agency is set up 4 years ago, but we have a lot of experience before that. So we, I suppose we work with our clients in terms of maximising their budgets through paid search advertising. We work on their organic through on their SEO, and I suppose very importantly, we work on conversion rate optimization and strategy with our clients to make sure they're getting the very best out of their online presence on their website. So without further ado, I won't talk any more about myself. I'm going to get straight into what it means for growing direct revenue for yourselves. So a lot of us, I suppose, the most important thing is really to look at what your strategy is and how many of us actually do have a book direct strategy. We all understand what book direct means. We all know what we're looking to achieve. But a strategy, there's a nice little quote here that says, a strategy without process is little more than a wish list. So really getting to grips with not just because we want our customers to book direct. That's not necessarily good enough. We have to have a plan and we have to have that strategy built around that. So the first part of that is obviously having your website. It's so clearly important. But to really succeed at booking direct, you must adopt a multi-channel approach to driving direct bookings. So basically considering each of the channels, what you're looking to achieve from each of those channels, what channels make most sense for you as a hotelier. Bookings, you need to have a strategy for all of those different channels. The reason that this is so important is because with direct, it's a much more profitable route of business, and you can control the message and your own customer experience. So the strategies that I'm going to look at, or I'm going to talk about today, are one is paid search advertising. And we all, I suppose, have a lot of budgets that we put towards Google and various other different search engines and social channels, and we need to make sure that we're maximizing those as best as we can. Conversion rate optimization, so understanding user behavior. How do you turn more lookers into bookers? Without a good conversion strategy, you know, you're always looking to improve the user experience. And if you don't have this, you run the risk of not getting the most out of your marketing budgets. Social advertising, it definitely does work. Previously, we would have really considered this to be very much top of the funnel advertising. So very much about your brand awareness, engagement, but we are seeing some really strong conversions coming through social advertising channels. And last but not least, meta search. It's time to stand out. And meta search gives us a really good opportunity to get in front, and it's direct channel shift. We're getting in front of our customers directly in place with the likes of Booking.com and Expedia. So it is a true form of channel shift. One thing I would say about meta search is rate parity, obviously, with this channel is very, very important.
Okay, I'm going to step in just for 1 second because Caroline has a huge amount of information to talk to you all about today. But in true revenue management style, I'd like to show you a spreadsheet. I'm sure it wouldn't be a revenue management presentation without one. But this is actually live data that we've taken from a hotel. And what I wanted to do today was, again, in revenue management style, is just to show you how important it is to measure everything you do. You obviously can't understand your book direct strategy if you don't have the numbers. And I hope this simple spreadsheet gives you an idea of where you actually might start. So if you all can see my screen here, you can see that in this particular example, this hotel had 2,186 bookings from their booking engine, which equated to 38% of their total amount of bookings through for this period. Sorry, I beg your pardon. So that brought in just over 810,000, and to get the average booking value, obviously it's dividing your revenue by your room nights, and that gives us an average booking value of £307.78. The commission at 3% was just over 24,000, which gave us a net value of 786,000 and a net average booking of 359.65. So just to get your net average booking value, it's just, again, just make sure that you're taking your commission away so you know exactly what you're doing in a net situation. The other important factor here is that obviously getting direct bookings in, and especially if you're working with a digital strategy, you have to measure how much that is costing. Caroline's going to show you later on today on how to measure your cost versus your conversion. But if you take it purely as a digital cost, again in this hotel they had just over £18,000 spend, and that gave us an average booking value of £351. Now, if we have a look then at what they were doing on the OTAs, they just had under 100 bookings less on the OTAs, so 2,086 bookings on the OTAs. That brought us in 591,000, but the commission at 15% made us look at our net loss on that due to commission at just over 88,000. This brings the average booking value down to £240.88. Now, obviously, well, for most hotels actually, the average booking value on an OTA is less because obviously on your booking engine, you're giving lots of your lovely packages out to your direct customers and only keeping your bar rates out on the OTAs. But for me, actually measuring these results, knowing where you are and knowing where you start in a revenue management situation is really, really important. Caroline, as I say, is going to go through the importance of looking at your conversion rate and what that's bringing in versus your cost. But on a pure revenue management situation, I think you have to understand how your numbers stack up and how that is going to influence all of your decisions moving forward.
Great, and I think we might stick with the numbers just for a little bit here, Adrienne, as well. So one of the most important things that we do with all of our clients is to look at a target. So what is your book direct target, and I suppose who has one? We should all know what we're looking to achieve in the coming year, so for 2020. So I'm going to talk a little bit later on about how we drive traffic directly through our websites, but it's important to understand what happens with that traffic once it's actually got to your website, and how are each of us measuring this. One of the big things that I suppose we often get asked is who actually owns this target. Is it the marketing department, the revenue department, the revenue manager? In my opinion, it's definitely a shared target. To be honest, without the marketing, you're not going to get the traffic there, and without the right rate strategy, you're not actually going to convert the people. So it is definitely a shared target. So do you know what your website key performance indicators are, and have you got targets in place? So this is just, I suppose, to demonstrate what some of those KPIs are. And the first line here, the visitors, we're all about growing visitors, and we have to grow visitors. But what happens once they get there? So to be able to measure what we call, which is the next line, what we call your website conversion rate. So how well did my website perform to entice somebody to make a booking? What influences this? Is my speed okay? How is my imagery? What kind of messaging do I have? Are my call to action strong? Are my landing pages strong? So getting somebody from your website into your booking engine is the first KPI after traffic that you should be looking at. Nobody has still books. These are just still leads. So getting those people into the booking engine, but then isolating people within the booking engine journey. So how many of those people within the booking engine are actually converting? So this is where your rate strategy comes into play. Do you have rate parity? What's your availability like? How is your imagery been used? The use of technology, things like strike-through pricing, reinforcement messaging, that this is the best place to book. It's really important to have consistency through the whole user journey. So from the time that you're doing your marketing, so your paid search ads, whether it's your social advertising, to the time they come into the website, having that consistent message, but then also bringing it through onto the booking engine is really, really important. So really understanding where I was last year, what I want to achieve this year for my traffic, for my website conversion rate, and for my booking engine conversion rate is really, really important. And it's the cumulative effect of all of those that actually really allow you to be able to grow your revenue. in these cases, like your overall conversion rate doesn't grow as much because you're growing each of the stage of the funnel, but your revenue can grow considerably. So this is a really good, I suppose, exercise that we do with all of our clients, to then allow us to be able to go back in on a regular basis to say, are we on track in terms of where those targets should be? And it could be the fact that the website conversion rate is performing very well, but we're losing people in the booking engine, or vice versa. So that's just one thing. So next, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some hotel search trends and what's happening within the world of Google, and just specifically for a very broad term, hotels in Ireland. So in an overall sense, we're seeing growth of 12%, and this is just for Q2, is the last data that I had, for hotel in Ireland search phrases. Interestingly enough, and as we would have expected anyway, 66% of these searches are coming from mobile phones. So that mobile experience is going to be really, really important for your direct booking customer. And 28% of those searches then are coming from desktop, and 3% change in cost per clicks compared to the previous year. So basically, if we go on to the next slide, what that's actually telling us is that our queries and our clicks are up on mobile, and our cost per click, so what that actually costs us, is down, which is very, very positive. So you're getting more visibility for a lower cost. So it's really good to make sure that your mobile strategy and your mobile performance is there, and that you're capturing your mobile visitor in the right way. As an example, like what we're seeing is over the last 2 years, there has been a 2-fold increase in mobile searches for phrases like places to travel, and a 6-fold increase in mobile searches for people searching for things to do and near me phrases. So these are all opportunities that you can capitalize on to make sure that you're getting somebody a little bit earlier, maybe in terms of their search journey, but you're in their mind ahead of somebody else through their mobile journey as well. Google Signals. This is a really good way just to understand the customer journey. And the customer journey has become an awful lot more complicated over time. And Google Signals and cross-device reports in Google Analytics gives us a much better understanding of the real customer journey. So in this example, in the above model, you see mobile is converting at 4.42%, while desktop is converting higher, which we would expect at 5.2%. However, the best converting channel is where someone actually starts on desktop in this instance and actually completes their journey on mobile. Understanding all of this information is so critical to how you're actually going to engage and talk to your customer before they've decided to actually book. So this is why the information around devices and around user behavior is critical in terms of the decisions that you make. Again, this is just talking a little bit about user behavior. Customers are, I suppose, they're definitely much more impatient today, and they're more curious, and they're looking for an experience much more than they ever did before. And again here, searches for best have grown over 80%, and travel-related searches for tonight and today have grown over 150%. This is because people are now much more comfortable using mobile. They feel, and they're on the move and they're on the go. So this could very much be your corporate visitor that's looking to actually book somewhere for today or for tonight. And then also videos. Video is really important. I'm going to just touch slightly on videos before I go into the personas. No, you're fine, Adrienne. Videos, so with review in the title, have had more than 50,000 years worth of watch. So anything that you have in terms of your own assets, where you might have some collateral around video, and you can create video from still images as well, and overlaying some reviews that you're getting from your customers is a really good way of getting out there with a really authentic message to your customer base as well. And people engage much more with video. You'll all know from your own social media streams that if you see a video, you're going to tend to stop a little bit and engage with it and see if it's of interest to you much more than you would just regular content. So looking at who your customers are, and again, a really good exercise to do, all of these, this is just an image-based slide, and all of these people are your potential guest, whether it's the couple looking to explore something new or have a romantic breakaway, weekend away, whether it's the family looking to get away for an Easter break or Halloween break, the adventurer looking for something different, corporate business person. Are they all looking for the same thing? Well, the answer is no, they're not. So we shouldn't necessarily treat them as if they are. So we really need to tailor our marketing messages, our imagery, and how we're actually targeting all of our potential guests to make sure that they are getting the experience that they expect. And because we do offer, obviously, as hotels, we offer so much to so many, but if we go out with the same message, we're losing out on an awful lot of opportunity.
Caroline, I love the idea of personas, and I often ask the hotels I work with to start with personas so that they understand who their guest is, or actually who they want it to be. But what you're saying here, that's not only transcend onto your digital strategy, but that should be across various devices as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, we have we know that we have different age demographics using like even different social platforms. We have you know, maybe our over 50s are using more tablet. So again, it's about analyzing the data that's important to you. It's analyzing your data and then adapting the approach that's going to actually attract that visitor. We have much more information about our customers today than we ever did before. So it's extrapolating that from all of our mediums, and then using that to then build our strategy to reach those individual different potential customers.
Perfect.
All right. So conversion rate optimization, look, it basically is, you know, your lookers to bookers. It's the process of making sure that we're converting as many people as possible to increase our revenue throughout our website. So just to talk a little bit about that, like we have Google Analytics and your reviews on the likes of TripAdvisor and Booking.com and Google My Business. They provide really valuable data on your customers. Google Analytics, if set up correctly, will tell you vital information such as your traffic, your revenue, conversion rate by age category, and then even breaking things, all of those metrics then down by location, device information. So whether your customer is new or returning, you might have a different approach. This information can easily then be used to optimize your campaigns and your landing page experience. So for example, you're not necessarily going to have the same type of landing page for a US customer as you're going to have for a domestic customer. So really tailoring the information that's contained within those pages around travel information that's relevant to that market, attractions, activities, proximity to you know, to certain attractions. All of that is really information, and maybe longer stay packages as well, because they'll perform better there. So how we actually look at ways to improve conversion rate optimization is through analytics, as I just spoke about, and looking at that whole funnel visualization. There are tools that you can use as well to help you to apply heat map software to your website. It's just a really good, useful tool to overlay on analytics. It's a very image-based way of understanding where your customer is going. It also does video recording, so you can see, are they getting confused? Are they actually going through the path that I expected them to go through? A/B testing. A/B testing is great. It provides some really valuable information. You can A/B test particular pages, features on pages, call to actions. And there again is softwares you can use to do this, but there's also Google Optimize, which is readily available and free for anybody to use. And your download speed, it does say 3 seconds here. I had meant to change that to 2 seconds, actually, to be honest, because really what we're looking at now is, you know, if it goes above 2 seconds, you're starting to lose people's engagement. They're not as inclined to stick around to see what's going to load on the site. So it is really important as a metric, and for anybody that's doing a new site, I would say to their design agency, one of the KPIs that they should have in place, and one of the expectations, is that the site loads in less than 2 seconds, or, you know, it doesn't go any further than that. So I'm going to give you an example of a A/B test that we would have done for one of our clients. And within this test, we saw an additional 27% of revenue come from the variation that had the reserve rather than the book now button on it. A really simple test. And to be honest, I was a bit surprised with this. I didn't expect. I would have thought reserve was more of a US. This is a UK property. I would have thought reserve was more of a US term, but actually it had worked really, really well. And then that was the one that we rolled out. Always important as well to, if you're doing a test, you can retest at a later date just to make sure that things are still the same and nothing has changed in terms of consumer behavior. So this adds really, this will add value to all of your performance throughout the funnel that we looked at earlier on. And it's also important for us to see if we have an idea or we think that something's going to work. It helps us to reinforce that, yes, that's great, that's going to work, but also it'll indicate if there's going to be an issue, because sometimes what we think might work could have a negative impact on conversion. And it's as important to find that out as it is where the positive impacts are coming from as well. talk a little bit about some of the website messaging. I'd say you have gone on one, Adrian.
Yeah. Back. Sorry, jumped on.
No, no, no.
Beg your pardon, Caroline. Sorry.
Not at all. So this is just an example. I mean, look, for our website messaging, and we all know this, it's really important to keep the site clean and to keep it simple. But this is a nice example of how, while they are using technology to put specific messaging up there, it's really important that it's very easy and very clear as to where you click to actually move away from that. But again, this is just a really nice example of somebody that's looking to make sure that the customer knows that there is benefit to booking direct. And that in this case, enjoy £30 credit when you book direct to spend in the bar or restaurant. There's also, I suppose, which we are seeing more and more of, is the messaging widget, which appears, a chat widget. And again, this can be very useful for a customer if they have a query. Rather than abandoning the process, they can ask a question. And again, through collating this information yourselves, through reservations or through any information and feedback that you're getting from your customers, you can build out what those frequently asked questions look like and build them in here. A couple more images of website messaging that we have seen work really well. The first one, again, I'm sticking with St. James's here in Mayfair. It's a stay 3 nights and save up to 20%. They have a really nice image above that. They do not feel the need to have to put a big save 20% off. What they're doing is they're combining what's really fantastic about the property and that luxurious stay, but because you're staying for 3 nights, there is a benefit to you, and complimentary Wi-Fi and the best rate guarantee. The other one is Christmas Market City Break for another client. And again, rather than them reducing rates, they're actually adding value here. So free parking and £10 Selfridges voucher and breakfast included, save £36 a night. But you're not saving it off the rate, you're saving it because of the value add that they're actually giving you, which is really good. And another one, which I thought it works really, really well, it's just excellent location view map. It's a really simple way of showing somebody what a fantastic location you have. If you've done a really good job in terms of showcasing your property, to now be able to show somebody what a great location you have by just simply clicking on the map, it's a really nice use of messaging throughout the site as well. And this one then is save over £110 when you book our city estate package. And it's just another way, it's an overlay. Again, easy to click out of it, but you've got the message across there very, very quickly about what that value proposition is to be able to book direct. And the very last one that I'll go through, everything I've done up to this point is just in desktop. So your mobile experience is really important. And what's really important with mobile is that you don't allow all of these messages to actually overlay the mobile experience. So I like the way this has been done by the Metropole Hotel in Cork. It's welcome to the Metropole, book with us here and get your choice of 10% off dinner or a welcome drink. A really simple, really nice message, and it doesn't really impede too much on the booking experience. And then what's very important, what's very important is this little sticky call to action at the bottom. So as I scroll this phase, so as a mobile user, if I want to book now, I have the option to book now. But if I want to call and I don't necessarily want to book now, if I'm on the move and I find it easier to want to talk to somebody, I just hit that call button and ring directly through. Whilst we may want people to book direct and to book online all the time, we have to decide, we have to give the customer the option and the choice and let them choose what's best for them as well. And so that's a really good use of that functionality. So a couple of bits around best practice. Booking and engine messaging is really important. That consistency message that I spoke about earlier on. Form field reduction. So look, if you don't need the information, don't ask for the information. Make it as simple as possible and reduce the steps as much as you can. Active click to actions above the call to actions above the fold. Again, that's really important to make sure that what you have above the fold is the most important retail space for you as a business. So you do need to use it properly. We can see through these scroll maps that in some cases we're losing 50% of people on desktop below the fold. So if you have a very strong message that you're looking to get across, you have to make sure that that is above the fold. So reduce the options on mobile. Don't have people scrolling through so many rates. So do make sure that you have your best sellers there. Then we have single step opt-ins. So you want to build up your database. You want to make sure that you're getting as many people in as possible. Make it really easy. Zoom in images. you know, when you look at your reviews and you look at the TripAdvisor and the Booking.com reviews, and people talk about the amazing staff and the amazing people in the property, and then you look at the website and you don't see a single image of anybody within any of the images, you know, it's a missed opportunity, because you can really reinforce those positive feedback that you're getting from your customers through your imagery. And as a customer or a potential customer that's looking at reviews and then looking at a website, if you see those consistencies, you'll be more inclined to convert, because you'll have believed what you've read from your peers. So wording, keep it simple, know your USPs, look at booking.com, look at the imagery within your booking engine, and look at the imagery that you're using on booking.com. You know, sometimes we see that there's amazing imagery throughout the site, and then when it comes to booking engine, we don't always have those our best wares on display, so we definitely need to do that. Use their banner image, again, that's above the fold, that's prime retail space. And reviews reduce bounce, they do. If you can get a really nice image and a review that overlays that image, again, if somebody's going through and exploring whether you're the right property for them, it can really be a really strong reinforcement message and personalize those landing pages. Okay, so now I am just going to talk a little bit about pay-per-click, our paid search advertising's role in growing your direct bookings. And if we were to go back not so long ago, search was used to be centered around keywords and bids. Advertisers, the likes of ourselves and marketeers, would select specific keywords related to the offering and set bids and hope that that keyword would convert. And the campaigns would be minimal. That kind of evolved a little bit with the introduction of mobile and audience lists. We had more signals that we could take into consideration, so our conversion rates got better because of this. And now there's much more variables that have come into the equation. But if we fast forward to today, we have the opportunity to utilize not just signals from Google, which we're taking, our signals from the user, but also signals from your own data. So, you know, like we can take signals from what people were doing before they ever got onto your site, what was of interest to them, and now that they're on your site, okay, great, this is further information that can help us to make a decision as to whether this person is the right person for us to bid up. You can pick out key data points within that for specific options and set a strategy around that. So basically, I suppose two things have happened. The haystack, for want of a better word, has got bigger. So it's really hard to, you know, the needle, it's much harder to find it. But if you use it correctly, and if you leverage off of machine learning, and Google has changed massively over the last 12 months in terms of what they are allowing marketeers to do, to be very targeted, to make sure that we're getting the right message to the right person at the right time. So it gives us a huge opportunity. It's turning that challenge into a massive opportunity. So leveraging machine learning and smart solutions is key in terms of growing your direct bookings through your paid search advertising. On the next slide, then you'll see that there's a couple of different, I just brought in two different ways of, I suppose, strategies that we can look at how we market within paid search. Before, we would have bid for clicks, so you're paying for clicks. But with the power of AI and machine learning, we can actually now bid for conversion. So that can be conversion based on a target cost per acquisition. So for example, you're setting 10% and you don't want it to go above that 10%, or it can be based on maximizing a certain number of conversions within a restricted budget, or even a cost per lead model. So for example, if you're driving wedding inquiries, so you understand exactly what you can put in. Okay, well, I know I can get this lead in at this cost, and you can manage it based on that cost. So it has changed an awful lot. I'm going to show you on the next slide an example, and this really does bring it back to making sure that you are looking at your cost per acquisition or your cost of sale all the time. So this is an example of a client that we started working with in 2017. So they to be fair, they were looking to do it in-house themselves before that. So they had 16,000 clicks. Their CPCs, so their cost per click was 76 cents. The cost of the campaigns ran at just over 12,000 and the conversion rate was 0.88%. The 143 conversions at a €274 average booking value, which was 39,000 in revenue. But the absolute critical part of this is the percentage cost. It was costing them 31% to actually get that revenue. They should have let that go through the third parties. It is not profitable for them, and it's not good business. So if we move on then to the 2017, when we started working with them, the first thing that we done was we built all the new campaigns from scratch, and we were able to reduce the cost per click down to 30 cents. So that ultimately reduced the overall cost and grew the clicks to 31,000. So now we had just more opportunity. The conversion rate didn't change, so it stayed at just 0.89. It moved very, very slightly. But it meant we doubled our conversions on the back of that. The average booking value grew, so the revenue went to 90,000. But importantly, the percentage cost, so the cost per acquisition came in at 10.3%. So now this is profitable business. Now this makes sense. Yes, you have to overlay your booking engine commission into this as well, but it's as you would have had to do in 2016. But it is still competitive against the third parties, and that's the most important piece. And you own this customer. So again, moving into 2018, our focus was very much on conversion here. The CPCs actually grew slightly. So our cost went up a little bit, but our conversion rate, because of the areas that we were looking to improve on, the conversion rate went to 1.68. So our conversion rates again almost doubled, and average booking value went up. So revenue came in at 177, and the percentage cost per acquisition came in at 5.44%. Now, we might sit back and say, that's brilliant, business coming in at 5.44%. But as long as there's other business coming in through the third parties, through Booking.com and through Expedia, we have got room here to move that needle up. So, you know, for some properties might say, well, look, I'm happy to bring business in at 8%, 10%, 12%, depending on your needs, and depending on how reliant you are with third parties. So it allows you, if you were to move this number back up to around 8%, what it does is it helps you drive more traffic and ultimately grow your revenue further.
Caroline, even now I sometimes hear people say that they feel they shouldn't have to bid on their own brand name. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that you're with me in this and saying that's absolutely necessary to bid on your brand name to keep the OTAs from bidding on it and taking up that kind of valuable real estate on the top of page one in Google. Are you with me on that? Do you agree with that?
Look, absolutely. If you didn't have the third parties bidding on brand, well then no, it wouldn't necessarily make sense. But I don't know of anybody that doesn't have a third party bidding on their brand name, to be honest, maybe other than some of the big chains. And in that case, you absolutely need to protect your brand. You have to remember, brand is probably the cheapest cost per click you're going to get. So if you're not there for your own brand name, and if you're only there for non-brand phrases, it's quite possible that you could have attracted a customer through a non-brand phrase, through your paid search advertising. They came back in, you remember, our user journey is really long. So they would have came back in, putting your name in. Booking.com or Expedia could then come up if you're not bidding on your own name, and they could actually win the customer that you originally found, and it's costing you not only your paid search advertising that they clicked on, you know, on a broader search term, but also the commission from Booking.com. So I do think it's about looking at it commercially, making sure that it makes sense. But for all of our clients, we would definitely, as long as Booking.com and Expedia and everybody else is bidding, we would have to bid. One thing I would say to everybody that's listening, that if you do have some third parties out there that are not performing for you, don't necessarily give them your inventory, because what's happening is they're probably still bidding on your name. So it's bringing Google is an auction, so it's bringing the cost per clicks up, raising the bar, and if they're not actually bringing any revenue in for you, I would say, well, look, just focus on the ones that actually are, because it's costing you more in the long run.
Absolutely, and you heard it from the expert, guys.
Now, okay, so audiences are are fabulous, really. Really allowed us to get really targeted in terms of people that we're looking to attract. Audiences can be identified as those people that are on your website. I spoke a little bit about them earlier on, but also people that have shown intent through other sites that they have engaged with, and also past search behavior. Okay, so we can do audiences based on visitors to specific pages, past converters, time spent on site. And the next slide shows you just an example of how audiences is a pretty basic example of how audiences can be used. But the circle and the green are just people searching for hotels and Core. The blue circle are visitors that have previously been on your website. So the sweet spot in between really are people that have actually searched for hotels in Cork and have been on your website. So these are the guys that you actually want to bid a little bit more aggressively for, because you know these guys have a much higher intent. So the chances of them converting are higher than just hotels in Cork or just people that have been on your website. So you bid positively for people that have higher intent. And I suppose looking at your data, you can bid negatively for people that you know typically aren't going to convert. The next slide gives you an example of what we call in-market audiences. And Google have now provided audience data based on what they know about where your customer was. So what sites they have been on previously. So in this example, you can see that the data Google has on the previous search makes them much more qualified and more targeted. So this person was not just looking at searching for a New York hotel. They had searched for flights to New York. They had searched for Broadway shows, things to do in New York. Whatever the case may be, there's a lot of different signals here to say this person is actually very intent on staying, and you do want to get in front of them with your message. So again, all of this data is on anonymized data, so but it does give us a really good insight into who our potential customer is as well. So a couple of examples of why this is important, and just to let you all know, like your audiences are something that can build up in Google. So it's literally a flick of a switch. And you can allow them to run, and then what you can do is, as you start to see the audiences that are there, you can start to then segment and build specific campaigns around those audiences. So just to show you the impact that some of these can have. So this example is somebody that has previously visited 4 pages or more of the site. It's a brand campaign. So without the audience in place, the conversion rate was 2.76 and the cost of sale was 8.1%. With an audience in place, so it's a smaller pool, but much more targeted. The conversion rate was 7.13% and the cost of sale was 4.7%. So making it much, your budget's going further. It's a much more profitable route of business for you to apply that audience strategy. The next one then is household income. It's a little bit scary, I suppose, to think that Google has this data, but as I said earlier on, it's all anonymized. So what we can do here is, this was for a 5-star hotel in London. And based on this campaign, the conversion rate was 0.73% and the cost of sale 7.3% without the audience in place. When we applied the top 10% of household income, the conversion rate went up to 2.4% and the cost of sale to 2.65%. So Google has all of this data. So we can segment the traffic and we can segment the visitors based on the data that Google has, where they have it. Now, again, this is going to be different property to property, depending on the type of customers that's coming to your site, depending on their own marketing preferences and their policies and what they have both to do and not to do. But it is something that audiences can be turned on across the board for. And responsive search ads. Responsive search ads, again, it's a really nice little ad type coming from Google. It's where you have 15 headlines and 4 descriptions. And basically what Google do is they put, it's like multivariate testing, for want of a better word. They'll put together all of these different combinations and then they'll show the best converting ad copy more frequently. In this case, Kilkenny Ormond, and they allowed us to use this slide. It converted, when we put this in place, converted 60% better than their next best converting ad. So it can work very, very well. Okay, social's role in growing direct revenue. So social media, before we would have considered this to be very much top of the funnel, and very much brand awareness and engaging with your customers and communicating with your customers. But actually what you should be doing is you should be taking the same approach as you do to paid search advertising, a cost per acquisition model as you do with any other form of advertising. So this is where we're talking about where your adverts are showing to people within their feed, as opposed to what your daily posts are or what you're looking to communicate to your clients about. So Facebook and Instagram are where we would see the best results. And they have become, for many, many industries, and including ourselves, they have become a very big selling platform. So I suppose like 80% of all internet users possess a Facebook account. In the past, we would have considered Facebook to be was a younger demographic. That's changed considerably. So 65% of adults over the age of 65 have a Facebook account. So there is a massive opportunity across the board for our potential customers, and getting in front of them with our message on the likes of Facebook and on the likes of Instagram. So there's massive reach, massive opportunity. And I think like these social platforms have changed considerably around specifically looking at travel and looking at hotel and hospitality as well. So there's a number of different advertising options. Actually, you might just jump on quickly to the next slide there, Adrienne.
Sure.
There's a couple of different advertising options within Facebook and Instagram that allow us to get in front of them. And one of the newer ones that we have through Facebook is travel ads. So this is like a new dedicated hotel travel ads tool that allows you to be very specific to get in front of your audience and to get in front of your network. So like everything, Facebook and Instagram, they all need to commercialize and to make money, and they can see the benefit and they can see what's happening with Google. But they're only going to do that as long as these channels actually convert for them and their customers are generating revenue from it. So there is the potential to target thousands of customers based on age, gender, job title, interests. So the opportunity to get in front of people with the likes of video, GIFs is really, really powerful here. And again, this is where it's going to come back to what your collateral, what do your assets look like, and the ability to be able to do little videos. And again, it can be through still images and create a little short video through that. But to have that through your social channels is a very powerful opportunity. Make sure you have your Facebook pixel for everybody on. Make sure you have your Facebook pixel for remarketing set up on your website as well.
Caroline, I think it's really interesting to understand the shifting demographics of social media, because something that I realised is that my 20-something children wouldn't be seen dead on Facebook anymore, and have moved to other platforms such as Snapchat and Instagram. So I guess when you're trying to really push this book direct strategy and you're looking at ways to advertise and get in front of your customers, you really need to understand, going back to that persona of who your customers are, where they're going to be looking, and then tailoring that message within those social media channels. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, you do. And again, all of this data is available. You can really customize who your messaging, your approach, based on the people that are on these channels, based on the age demographic. So and that's why it is a multi-channel approach to growing your direct booking revenue. It isn't just I have my website, I'm doing my Google advertising through, and that's it, I should be fine. It is looking at what you can get organically, what you can get through paid on Google and Bing, actually. Haven't touched that, and then what you can get through your social channels too, and all of that does amount up. It's a smaller percentage, but it still has a really good conversion rate, and we're seeing about 7.5%, 8% cost per acquisition coming through the social channels at the moment. So look, a couple of different, just to show you what's possible, whether it's a specific event, like the Glen Royal here, or whether you're, which is on Instagram, or whether it is a Facebook post or a sponsored video. There's lots of different options for you to be able to advertise and get your message across. All of them have very clear, strong call to actions, allow you to be able to get revenue directly through your own site. So definitely one not to be remiss about, I think. And on the next, you can see here, City West. This is like a carousel. Advertising through carousel images, and it allows you to be able to showcase the overall experience. So it's not just about selling rooms, it's about the restaurants, it's about the golf, and these carousels allow you to be able to just give that sense of what the overall offering and experience is, rather than being very focused on rooms. Okay. And video, I touched on it above, and I think we all have to think about video. We have to think about how we're going to be engaging with our customers far into the future, and it's going to become less text orientated. They reckon by 2022, 82% of the world's internet traffic will be video. Now, to be fair, that does include all of our smart TVs, Netflix and all the rest of it. But the point is that our customers, us as individuals, we're all moving towards video-based content. So we do need to consider that in our marketing strategies as well. This is an example just of an advertising campaign that Airbnb done, and they had almost 2.5 time increase in branded searches and 14% increase in bookings after leveraging some of what I was speaking about earlier on around machine learning, smart solutions, and then automation within video. So again, enabling us to become more targeted and more focused, and building up the data on who our customers are and what they're actually looking for and getting it. So YouTube is another really nice way of getting your video out there. Excuse me. So basically it allows you to target anyone that has done a search. So for example, hotels in Killarney on Google search, but that may not have clicked on your search. Because Google and YouTube are connected, you can now actually put that message back out to those people that searched on Google, but maybe didn't interact with it, back out on YouTube. So it's a really good way of getting awareness. But again, what we've seen some very good conversion rates. It's a low cost, it's a good channel with the ability now to have book now overlays as an option on things like YouTube for Action. It makes a massive difference to getting your message across and getting that call to action and that revenue through. So MetaSearch, the platform that puts us directly ahead of the OTAs, or can do. So we all know what MetaSearch is. It's basically all of an aggregator. So bringing all of the search engines data and pulling them into one place. So again, Trivago, Google Hotel Ads, TripAdvisor, this is putting us directly in front of our customer. And if you're not on brand, so they're already looking for you, they've decided that they want to be able to book you. And if you're not there, and you can very clearly see here from Kilkenny Hibernian, if you're not there, it is going to go to booking.com or it's going to go to Expedia. So I would, as I mentioned it earlier on, if you don't have rate parity, if there's any, if you have any concerns around anything like that, I would say probably hold back. Google Hotel Ads have a direct, can now take a direct feed basically, and you can do that. And we're seeing the best results from Google Hotel Ads. So if you're to be on any of the MetaSearch channels, I would say a good starting point is definitely Google Hotel Ads. And it really, you can see the visibility it gives you. So the benefit is it's convenient for bookers, as it's very easy to compare the rates, and you can see you know what the best rate is. Its popularity is increasing with independent travelers. So it's very targeted and very qualified. It is a cost-effective, high-performing channel, and it's allowing you to get directly in front of Booking.com on bidding brand. If you are not there, that booking is definitely going to the third parties. That's just so it's direct channel shift.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here, Caroline, just for 1 second, because I'm asked a lot what makes a good website, and I suppose at the risk of sounding like I'm repeating what many of you already know, your web design is absolutely critical in not only your book direct strategy, but your overall revenue strategy. And in my mind, of course, revenue managers rule the world, but they should always be involved in your design process. And I think if we take a step back and understand that the goal of any website is, first of all, to convert revenue, and then second of all, to give information. But absolutely do not let web designers lead your design decisions. So sales, marketing, and revenue must have a clear idea of the strategy, what they need for their site before any design decisions are made. But if we look at it at a very high level, make sure that you have really simple navigation on your website. Don't make it overcomplicated for people to try and find information. They want it to be quick. We know that. So we need to make it really easy for people. We need great content, and that isn't lots and lots and lots of content, but really great relevant content, so that people can find the information and be very aware of what you're trying to sell, who you're trying to sell to. Go back to that persona and design your content around that persona. As Caroline has alluded to already, amazing images, some lovely video, they really do help sell your property. And I find actually across the board in the hotels I've worked with all these years, they don't invest enough in photography. So get really good photography, and you even know yourself when you're browsing websites, if you're hit with great imagery, then you stay sticky on the site, and you do tend to stay a lot longer. Declutter as much as you can. It's not about putting every single message that you need in front of a client, Remember, you're not a shopping channel. You're not, you know, selling sofas or baked beans or whatever. But keep it as clean, as clear and possible. Take all the noise from your site and make it as easy for people to move around as well. And make those call to actions clear. Caroline gave you some really good examples of, you know, changing book now to reserve, or try things, but make sure that messaging suits you and make sure it's clear to your customer. Know what your customers search for and make that a priority. So if you have a luxury or a resort hotel, or a hotel that's, you know, into weddings or dining or golf or spa, I can pretty much guarantee that a lot of your traffic is going to your gallery. So make sure that's easy to find. Make sure that your location and your maps are easy to find, because whether we like it or not, those are the pages that people are looking for. And remember, it's not about what you want to sell, it's about what your customers want to buy. So you don't need to tell them everything, you know, about, you know, how much your coffee is going to cost or whatever. Give them the experience, sell the experience, and that's what we can do over and above what any of the OTAs can do. The OTAs, we know it's very difficult to compete with them because a lot of people's buying behavior has changed and they're using the OTAs as search engines. But once someone comes to your website, give them that experience, but actually learn from the OTAs. So if they have their cancellation policies up front and center, make sure that you have. Make sure that you have the very best availability, better room types, better pricing, all on your own brand website. Try and get people there, give them a reason to stay with some really good navigation and images, get them to your booking engine, and hopefully they'll stay there. And I suppose there's lots of technology out there. There's just some examples here. So lots of this is free. So for example, your booked, around your book direct messaging and around your calendar where people are putting dates in, tell them why it's better to book direct. Tell them that they're getting the best rates. Tell them that they're getting the best availability. Tell them what you can upsell to, you know, to reward them for booking. Again, a lot of these messages have to be placed correctly, you know, and make it right and relevant for your clients. But I've just given you an example there of the price check. That's technology from Triptease that will allow you to show what your hotel is selling at compared to what the OTAs are selling at. There's some great technology here that will allow you to offer people who give you their email address to sign up to give them it. And again, it doesn't have to be a discount. It is on this example, but it could be a complimentary upgrade or a glass of wine on arrival. All of those things, like as long as it costs you less than an OTA commission to bring those booking in, then absolutely it is valuable and it should be done. This is a nice example of a "don't leave us" message. So if someone goes to leave your website, you can just entice them back. And again, it doesn't have to be discounted. It's just a lovely message to say, we've got some great offers if you book direct. And as Caroline again has alluded to, don't be nervous about trying new things. So if it's email marketing, there's some great software providers out there who will do your pre-stay, post-stay, bring back, in-house emails. There's some great technology out there that will understand your reviews and the impact and allow you to communicate. There's guest messaging that you can put on your website. Try it. Yes, there's a cost involved to it, but again, I bring it back to, if anything on your website is costing less than it is to bring a third-party booking in, then it's worthwhile doing. Measure your costs, measure your conversion, and as long as you're bringing those bookings in directly cheaper than an OTA, then it's worthwhile doing. And for goodness sake, don't let those customers stay as Booking.com customers or Expedia customers. Remember, at the very core of everything, that the person who walks in through your door and comes to your reception desk is your customer, and you need to treat them as your customer and make sure that they come back to you again and again. And that's all about the experience. Over to you, Caroline.
All right. And just to, I suppose, just to wrap up, really, just a final few key takeaways. So understand your cost of business and your KPIs. Absolutely have a book direct strategy and a book direct target. So use technology, as Adrienne has said now, to the fullest of its potential. Apply a cost per acquisition model to all of your channels. not just paid search on Google, but to all of your channels. Have a multi-channel approach to growth. Set your growth targets, and don't be afraid to try new things. That is how we are going to continue to improve. And I think, Adrienne, there's one question in from one of the panelists, and I suppose probably good just to touch on that, which is, would you also consider the indirect exposure that you receive by being an online OTA? Most people will not just look for hotels, but will use Google or one of the OTAs. So what value should I attribute, do you think? So I absolutely do think that we have an opportunity. I would never, first of all, say to anybody, you need to remove yourself from the OTAs. They give us reach, they give us exposure, and they will use multiple different different touch points over a period of time to be able to decide if you're the right property for them, be that through reviews. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. So definitely, I think that we need to be there on all of the channels, but we need to make sure that we are maximizing and using our messaging and our own direct site to be able to reinforce to somebody that booking direct is the best place to be. Everything that we've gone through today is just how to maximize your direct channel, but in order to grow our business, sometimes we do need all of the channels, including third parties.
Absolutely. And again, I say to the hotels that I work with, Caroline, that your OTAs shouldn't be seen as I have to accept OTA business. They should be seen as a distribution channel, not as base business. So open them, close them, manage them, put the rates up, manipulate the room types as you need it. They are just a channel for business. Keep it open and sell when you need to, and pull back when you don't. Use them like any other channel that you would. They're not the be all and end all. We do need them, but just make sure that you're managing them properly. So guys, I think that's actually it for today. I just want to say thank you for everyone attending. The recording will be shared on our YouTube channel. So if you go onto YouTube and search for Right Revenue, it will be on later on today. And please feel free to contact. There's Caroline's details should be just coming up here. Yep, well, it's
probably not even my email, but it's caroline@coreoptimisation.com.
Well, please feel free to reach out to Caroline or I if you have any questions on anything. Caroline, a huge thank you. I know I've taken a lot of your time over the last few days on content, but honestly, I think there was a lot covered today and a lot that we can learn. So thanks so much, guys, and see you in a couple of weeks for the next one.
Thanks, everybody.
All right,
thank you.
Bye. Bye.